friends, it's Valerie. Welcome back to another week's What's for Dinner. If you're new here, welcome. I'd love if you'd hit that subscribe button and join my YouTube family. I put out What's for Dinner videos every week, and this week I have 3 inspirational meals for you, and I hope that you enjoy them. So I've got like some Swiss cheese that I needed to use up, and I thought it was sliced Swiss cheese, but it was actually a block. So 2 of the recipes will be including Swiss cheese. Of course, you can sub them out, especially the one like the chicken with the Swiss cheese. You can sub that out for just all Parmesan. It's really good that way. I've kind of had it that way before. But like I said, I just needed to use up this Swiss cheese. It was in my fridge and I lost track of it like at the back of the fridge. So like it was coming up in date and I had to use it up. So I was like, let me go ahead and find some recipes that require Swiss cheese. So I hope that you enjoy these. And if you have an air fryer, you should really try those air fried asparagus. They're delicious. I love them. So other than that, let's get started. This first recipe is all made in the air fryer. I wanted to try out some air fried steak, so I air fried that with a baked potato and some asparagus. And to start off, I am just going to be taking 4 potatoes that I scrubbed clean pretty well, and I'm going to go ahead and just pierce those with a fork pretty much all over. I like to pierce my potatoes when making baked potatoes, and I figured the air fryer would be pretty much no different, that I would need to do that. So next I'm just taking my rack that goes into my air fryer, and I'm going to place them on top of that. And I'm just using my olive oil sprayer here to spritz some olive oil on top, and I'm just going to go ahead and rub the outside skins with all this olive oil. That's going to help them be nice and crispy. I like a soft fluffy potato on the inside and then a nice crispy skin. So now I'm also just going to season those pretty heavily with some salt. And then I'm just going to go ahead and stick those in my air fryer on the right slot in my air fryer for air fry. And I'm going to do it for 400 degrees for about 45 minutes. You'll want about 45 minutes to an hour. And now I am going to chop up some bacon, because I decided I wanted a little bit of bacon bits on top of my baked potato. This is frozen bacon, so I freeze my bacon flat, individual strips, so that I can easily pull some out and air fry it, or fry it up if need be. So I'm just chopping this up into some bite-sized pieces. It'll be really easy to cook from frozen this way, so I'm just putting that in my little pan, and I'm just doing about 3 thick slices here because I don't need a lot. It's just for topping the baked potatoes. So I'm just gonna go ahead and stir that bacon around every so often here to make sure that all sides are getting nice and golden, and I'm just gonna cook it until it's nice and crispy, because that's how I want it. At this point, I still have plenty of time on the potatoes, so I'm just prepping some other things that I can get done during this time so I don't have to worry about them later. So I'm taking just a small little bowl here, and I'm placing some butter in it. No real measurements. I just decided that I wanted some butter on the steaks, so I am just melting that up a bit to soften it, and I'm going to go ahead and crush some garlic cloves in there. I have about 4 here. And I'm just going to go ahead and put that in the butter. This is about maybe a 1/4 cup of butter. And yeah, you can season that however you like it. If you have any fresh herbs, that would be amazing. I didn't have any on hand, but that would have been so good if I had some rosemary. But yeah, so now I'm just going to go ahead and clean up some asparagus. And I'm just cutting off the ends. You can snap them off, cut them off, do whatever you'd like there. And I'm just choosing to cut them off. And so that's what I'm doing. And now I'm going to go ahead and just take my asparagus and place them into my air fryer basket, and I'm spritzing them with some olive oil, and I'm just going to kind of toss those to get them all coated with the olive oil so that I can season them, and so the seasonings can adhere to that oil onto the asparagus, because I don't want a lot of it to fall off into the air fryer. So I'm just going to go ahead and season that with some salt and some garlic powder, as well as some pepper. And so I'm also trying to fit all these items in my air fryer at one time, and keeping everything heated and good and ready to go at the same times. So I don't want to like use up a different device. I just want to use the air fryer. And I have a large air fryer, so that works. So now I'm just taking my steak, and this is just some petite sirloin steak, and I'm just giving that a coat of some olive oil, and I'm gonna simply season that with just some salt and pepper, as well as some garlic and herb seasoning from McCormick, and some fresh garlic butter. So at this point, the potatoes have air fried for about 45 minutes, and they can go in there for up to an hour. So I decided to leave them in there while I put the asparagus in so that they would stay nice and warm. And the asparagus don't go in for long, so they're just going in anywhere from 4 to 10 minutes. 4 if you like them more on the crunchy side, and 10 minutes if you like them on the softer side. So I just put them for that long, as well as the steaks, because my steaks were only going to be cooking for 4 to 5 minutes on each side for medium rare. You'll want to increase that time if you would like them more cooked. These were delicious. This meal was fabulous. There you can see the color of the steak that I had there. If you would like that darker, just go ahead and add an additional 5 minutes or so and just check it. I checked mine with the thermometer, but that was really, really good of a meal. We loved it. This next meal is some air-fried ham and Swiss sliders with some air-fried potato wedges. I'm just starting off by cleaning and cutting my potatoes into some wedge-shaped slices there. I just cut them in half lengthwise and then just into some other wedges. And you can cut whatever amount of potatoes you'd like. This is just what I had. It was actually too much, but we were having this as leftovers as well, and these heat up pretty good, so I wasn't too worried that I was cooking too many, but I had a lot of potatoes to use up. So I'm just going to go ahead and pour some olive oil on top of those and just use my tongs to kind of toss them and coat them with the olive oil so that I could have the seasoning stick to that. And I'm just going to be seasoning that with some pink Himalayan salt and some ranch powder, as well as some Tony Chachery seasoning. And then I'm just going to go ahead and toss those again with my tongs to make sure that all the seasonings are evenly dispersed amongst all those potato wedges. And then I'm just going to go ahead and place those in the air fryer basket and stick that into my Omni Plus. And I'm going to air fry them at 400 degrees for about 20 to 25 minutes, depending how crispy you like your potatoes. And then while the potato wedges are air frying, I'm going to go ahead and get started on what I need to get for my sliders. So I'm just taking about a half a cup of butter here. Actually did a pretty good job of measuring this on the dot, but I had really cold butter, so I had to go ahead and melt that in the microwave because you want melted butter for this. And I'm just going to go ahead and put some fresh garlic in there. You'll want about a tablespoon's worth. I just measured with my heart because I love garlic. So yeah, you'll just see me putting some in there, maybe a little more than you would like. Just put what you'd like in there. And then you're also just going to go ahead and add in 1.5 teaspoons of Italian seasoning, a half a teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce, and 2 teaspoons of Dijon mustard. Then just go ahead and give that all a good stir and set it aside to put on your sliders later on. Now I'm just taking a package of Hawaiian rolls. This is 12 rolls, and this is the Aldi brand of the Hawaiian rolls, and I'm gonna go ahead and just take my serrated bread knife and cut those. And I do horribly at these. I can never do these kind of like slice just straight down the middle kind of things. I never can. So I'm kind of going along all edges and making like a kind of indentation first, and I'm using that kind of as my guideline to get through. It's just easier for me that way. Do whatever's easy for you to cut that in half though. Now I'm just spraying the tray that will go in my air fryer with a little bit of oil so that these don't stick, even though it is a non-stick pan. I just sprayed a little bit because bread can tend to stick sometimes on things. And now I'm just taking a package of this deli Black Forest ham, and I'm gonna go ahead and just layer that on top of the bread, and I'm just using whatever amount I would like. I'm pretty sure I just used that whole package. Let me see if I can find out how many ounces are in there. I think it's an 8-ounce package. Next, you're going to need some Swiss cheese. I think about 8 slices or so, but I didn't have any sliced Swiss cheese like I was telling you guys in the intro, that I only had a block of this, like a block of Swiss cheese that I didn't realize, so I had to use it up. So I'm just using grated in my recipes here. So I'm just grating a bunch, putting it on top, whatever I see fit. You use whatever amount you want, but I would assume maybe about 8 slices if you're using sliced cheese. And then I'm just going to go ahead and take the tops to my Hawaiian rolls and place those right on top. I'm also tucking in any other little cheese bits there so they don't burn onto my pan. And then I'm going to go ahead and just use a little basting brush and baste on all of that butter, garlicky herb deliciousness. And I'm just going to put it all over the top. And if you have any you just want to pour in the middle or down the sides, go ahead and do that. It's really, really good. It gives so much flavor to the bread, and yeah, you won't regret pouring that all over the place. And once that butter's on there, I'm going to go ahead and also put some everything but the bagel seasoning on top. You can also just put poppy seeds if you like as well, or nothing if you don't have anything. It'll still just be very amazing, but I wanted that additional flavor on top. And I'm placing these in my air fryer on the bake setting at 350 degrees, and I put it about 10 minutes, but I started checking it after like 5-6 minutes just to make sure they weren't getting too browned, and I do believe about 8 minutes they were perfect. So I took them out then, and this is what they look like, and they were nice and crispy on the outside, but everything was nice and hot and melted. Those are those fries, nice and golden brown. And this was a really, really good dinner. We loved this, and surprisingly my boyfriend didn't taste the Dijon mustard, which is really good because he doesn't like mustard of any sorts. But it added a really great flavor, and so I don't think you'll be disappointed with this, and I hope that you enjoy it. You could also make these in your oven as well. This last meal is a creamy Swiss chicken bake. For this recipe, you're going to need 4 chicken breasts, and I had some very large chicken breasts here, so I'm actually just using 2 of these very large ones, and I'm just going to butterfly them down the middle and then just cut them into some thinner chicken breasts here, and I'm placing them into my greased baking dish. Now I'm going to get started on the mixture that's going to go on top of the chicken. So in a bowl, I'm going to combine a 1/2 cup of sour cream with a 1/2 cup of mayonnaise, as well as a 1/2 cup of grated Parmesan cheese. And then for seasonings, I'm going to add in a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a 1/2 teaspoon of pepper, and 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. And then I'm just going to go ahead and mix that all together. Next, I'm just taking my chicken breast that I have in my baking dish here, and I'm topping them with some Swiss cheese. Again, if you have sliced Swiss cheese, just use enough to cover, maybe about 4 slices or a slice per piece of cheese. I have grated, so I'm kind of just covering them like I would do any other type of casserole dish. if you don't like Swiss cheese as well, this would be better subbed out for some other type of cheese. You can either add more Parmesan or even add like a mozzarella or a pepper jack. That'll be really good. I'm not a huge Swiss cheese fan, so in the sliders I didn't mind it at all, but on this chicken it kind of I minded. My boyfriend loves Swiss cheese and he loved this, but it was a little too Swiss cheese for me. I would have preferred a different cheese or just all Parmesan, but it wasn't bad, especially if you like Swiss cheese. So now I'm just placing that mayonnaise, sour cream, cheesy mixture on top of that cheese, and I kind of spread it out in small dollops so that I could spread it out easier since the cheese is grated and I didn't want to move it all over the place. And now I'm just baking that in the oven at 375 degrees for about 20 minutes, and I broiled it for another 2 minutes just to make sure that the cheese was nice and browned and bubbly. And then I'm making some more of these air fried asparagus because I was in love with them, and I seasoned them exactly the same. And I'm just adding some fresh garlic that I had in oil left over in my refrigerator. So I'm just adding that on top just to use it up, and I air fried those again for around 10 minutes. And now I'm just making some mashed potatoes. These are the ones I'm making. I'm not showing, I'm just following the package directions, but that's the kind that I used because it tastes really good. And that's the chicken out of the oven. It was really, really good, minus the fact again that I don't care for Swiss that much, and it did have a strong Swiss taste, but it still was really good. I just would have preferred it with a different cheese. This whole meal was good though. I'm in love with those asparagus, and I'm going to be making them probably over the next few weeks until I get tired of them. So I hope that you guys enjoy these, and thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future What's for Dinner videos, and I hope you all have an amazing week.